So today we're going to talk about Venezuela. Venezuela is in the news a bit, and true to form, our preparation for this is Chuck texted me and said, "Hey, this Venezuela story is happening so fast. We should talk about it." So we hit record, and here we are. So now I guess what I'll do is I'll throw it to you first because I usually like to play off of you. And what are your thoughts? Nicolas Maduro got captured a couple days ago, and then Delcy Rodriguez was put in his place. There is protests in the streets and out there where people are protesting. They want Maduro to be placed back, and they think that it is wrong that Donald Trump is now just regime changing people in
Mhm.
Venezuela. You know, so I guess that's about. Oh yeah, and then there's reports that the Venezuelans are celebrating in the streets, but then it turns out the videos that all the people are putting is actually like uh, 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 soccer. It's like they're like, oh, the people in the streets are celebrating Maduro being exiled. No, that's actually Florida, and it's Venezuelans celebrating the World Cup. That's not even what it is. So there's all sorts of
Really?
misinformation. Yeah, there's all sorts of
Okay.
misinformation that's happening out there in Venezuela. This happens to be a hot button item that I've been paying
Mhm.
close attention to for over a year now. So, anyway, Chuck, what are your thoughts about Venezuela?
Well, it's funny you bring up that there's so much misinformation going on out there. I did think that people were celebrating, and I do still believe that people are celebrating in both in Venezuela and in different cities of the country. They're celebrating Maduro being taken out. As far as the protests, they make zero sense to me. They make it's this typical. If Donald Trump does it, it's got to be bad. So I don't have a short memory, and I don't know how short of a memory you have to forget that Joe Biden's administration upped the bounty. I'm not sure who. I've heard Trump originally put the bounty on it. I've heard Biden originally put the bounty on it. I know Biden at least upped the bounty. That I'm sure of. He's the one that upped it to 25 million or billion or million. And I've heard that Barack Obama put the bounty on him. Either way, it seems like our government is unified in saying Maduro is an illegitimate president. We have enough people, both in the media and in our politics, confirming that there's an arrest warrant for him from the Southern District of New York, which I still don't know how that works, but hey, that's how it works. Okay, or you're going to get to that, I guess. Fine.
No, I just the Southern District of New York, like of all the places, the Southern District of New York is like the most corrupt district, and it's like anti-Trump. It's so anti-Trump, and for some reason that's where he goes. That part makes no sense to me.
so Trump got the arrest warrant through the Southern District of New York, is what you're saying.
Now, what I'm saying is that classically, the Southern District of New York, which most recently was run by Maureen Comey,
Hmm.
James Comey's daughter, the
No
Southern District
coincidence.
of New York is where a lot of shenanigans,
Oh
anti-Trumpism,
yeah.
like you would
Hmm.
think that Trump would have this be in like I don't know, say Florida,
Yeah.
down there, like in Trump world, not Southern District of New York where they're
Trump
trying to
world,
get him.
not Trump world, Southern Florida makes a lot more sense because it hits a lot closer to home. So if you're a Venezuelan and you've been displaced into the United States because you fled Maduro's regime, are you going to Florida or are you going to New York? Probably going to Florida, but New York probably still has their fair share, which is why I figured they did the whatever it is. That's why they did the indictment. Either way, there is a legal indictment, which means our government is actually unified in saying that Maduro is a bad person who needs to be taken out. I thought that was agreed upon. So unfortunately, it looks to me like all that stuff was like posturing for political, for politicians to say, yes, he's bad and he better not step further out of line or we're going to do something. Oh, he stepped out of line. We're definitely going to do something. And they never do. So, in true Donald Trump fashion, he did something. So people have a problem that he did something. So I don't understand why everybody's screaming about this. As far as I know, from historically, I have no reason to believe this is anything but a good thing. Maduro being taken out. At least the beginning of good for this country of Venezuela.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing: is that I think that it's a little bit hairy, the whole regime change thing.
Of course it
It's
is.
a little bit hairy. It's a little you could see where that would be a little bit dicey. However,
Yeah,
here's the
we're all a
thing.
little hypersensitive to the whole regime change after everything we've been going on with in the Middle East for the past, what, 40, 50 years. All regime change. It seems to be like our jam, and we don't want to hear Donald Trump doing regime change. This is different, though.
Yeah. Well, I have a buddy. Who works in the government. Uh, you know him. He's from a funny sounding city. I talk to you about him all the time. But anyway, my
That
buddy,
guy.
he says to me, he goes like this. He goes, "There's layers to this shit, bro." That's how he puts
Mm.
it. There's a lot of layers to this. So what's on the surface? Like people are talking about oil. Yeah, it's about oil. And quite honestly, Trump's out there and he's like, "Man, it's gonna be oil. It's gonna be beautiful oil. It's gonna be beautiful oil. It's gonna be beautiful oil." That part kind of throws me off a little bit, but
Well, no, let me interject. As far as there's beautiful oil, it's my understanding that it's our oil, at least our rig, right? We're the one that set up the infrastructure to pump the oil in the first place. And I need to look into this more, but it was both Vance and Trump, or maybe it was Rubio. I forget. One of the big three said that those were stolen from us. So I don't know what that means, but it seems to be we have a legal claim to some of this oil.
so let's just take all of the legal everything out of it, right? Let's just take a
Hmm.
legal claim, everything out of it, and let's just lay our cards out on the table. Is I want to talk in what I believe is the reality of what's happening. Okay, somebody said something a couple weeks ago, which I thought was very interesting, is that the Western media does a really good job of protecting the West from threats that exist in the West. Okay.
Okay.
One of the biggest subverters of America is Cuban, and the Cuban intelligence and the Cuban apparatus is way, 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 way stronger than people really understand. And I'm just starting to understand this even more. That's why there was a whole bunch of Cubans that died when Maduro was taken. He was protected
Yeah,
by
they
a
were
whole
there
bunch of
protecting.
Cubans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's funny. People don't really go, gee, why were there all these man, I'm so worried about the Venezuelan part of it. We're just gonna hey, pay no attention to the Cuba part of it. Cuba, which
Yeah.
is communist. So this
Well,
the
they unfortunately the left overplayed their hand. We know about the Cuban casualties because the news was calling them civilian casualties, and they're like, no, 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 no. Those were Cuban soldiers that were there to protect Maduro, so they are not civilians.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know what the news was reporting on that. I just know that there
Mm.
were Cuban casualties. I don't know what the
Mm.
news was saying that it was
That's
whatever.
how they were calling them
I didn't know
civilians.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that part. But anyway, so here's the thing, right? As far as oil's concerned, it's not so much about our legal right to the oil. It is, but also it's about Venezuela's intended destination of the oil and who we're cutting off and who we're choking out by not allowing them to have that oil, and what type of here's the thing is that part of this stuff that people don't pay attention to is just trying to disrupt things. Like, let's say a country spends billions of dollars worth of infrastructure to go ahead and process this disgusting crude oil that is like
Hmm.
really, it takes a very, very special refinement process. So you spend all of this money to go ahead and refine it, and then the United States goes, hey, guess what? Enemy of us who is going to take this oil from the West,
Hmm.
you can't have it anymore. We're taking it. Here's a blip. You can't have it anymore.
Hmm.
And that's what we're doing. We're choking off enemies. Venezuela has a
Yeah,
lot of
that's the
really,
real
really
win.
well, that's the thing is that Venezuela has ties to the CCP. Venezuela has ties to Russia. I think it is hilarious that everybody is like, oh my God, you guys are Trump supporters, which means that by proxy, you are actually pro Putin and screw you, you evil Putin person. And then all of a sudden you're like,
Now
free
you're repeating the
Maduro,
news. Yeah.
free Maduro, free Maduro.
Yep.
I'm repeating my Facebook. My Facebook, people
Hmm.
are like, oh, you're a pro Putin Trump person. But the thing is that Delcy Rodriguez, who just got put into power, right? Delcy Rodriguez, who just got put into power, it's looking like she set Maduro up, and she was in Russia right before she became the power person, right before Maduro all of a sudden got caught.
Hmm.
So there's a
Right.
whole bunch of Russia ties and China ties and Iran ties to Venezuela that people aren't talking about, and I actually, to be honest with you, was surprised. On my Facebook last week, I posted a picture and I said, this when Maduro got exiled that morning, I posted a picture. I said, who succeeds Maduro will be very interesting because it'll let you know who the
Yeah.
power is.
I
And
saw it. Yeah.
I put a picture of Delcy Rodriguez up, who ended up being a successor. Not a lot of people realize that. I put up the picture of the successor before she was named.
Hmm. Right.
Because I've been paying attention to her because you knew all
Yeah.
this stuff was coming. She's a bad person. Her dad was Carlos the Jackal, one of the most prolific terrorists in the history of the world. That was her dad.
Mm.
You know,
Well,
she and her brother
well,
are terrible, terrible people, and they're in charge of Venezuela now.
right. Well, this is exactly why Donald Trump was saying that we're going to remain in charge. People will love him to run with that one. It's like, oh, you're just going to take over the country. No, we're not taking over the country. We're going to make sure it doesn't turn into the same crap that's been going on with Maduro. It's my understanding that besides the fact that I know the overall intention, one of the big wins was denying China like oil. In fact, I just had a conversation. I have some family that live out like in Missouri and in Oklahoma, and we were just talking about this. I'm like, bottom line, there's our real win. China's not getting this oil. It's like, hey guys, good to see you. So saying hi to my family because they're going to be watching this now. And so that's the real wins.
What's
Besides
up,
cutting
Chuck's
that stuff
family?
off, it's happening. I want to say names, but I'm not going to say names. Missouri, Oklahoma, you know who I'm talking about. But the overall purest intention there's so much oil. Venezuela is such a rich country, or used to be such a rich country, that the people of Venezuela should be able to feel that wealth and prosperity. And I think that's the end game. Obviously, we're going to profit for it too. And we're trying to settle the Western Hemisphere. That's what it seems to be. Like, we've ignored Central and South America and all the stuff that's going on. And it is the playground of Russia, China, us, Iran. Everybody's got their fingers into it. And it looks like this administration is trying to stop that and bring order to it. And I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah, me too.